So we're going to see what happens. I think if you didn't join us for the live quali watch, it definitely was something to be marveled at. Of course, it did start off rough. It started off rough, but then things got pretty damn exciting with us being able to see drivers continuously and randomly and alternatingly populate the top 5 within qualifying. So qualifying indeed has almost been a little bit more, I would say, interesting than some of the races. If I could be fair in saying that, almost more interesting than some of the races, honestly. So yesterday we had kickback quality trivia. Wildcat won that. The week before, Chaos Druid won that. So big shout out to them. We had new VIP members. Spider 35 last. Before that was Blue Diva. We do have a new VIP member that we're going to announce today. Also, we will be live today for race highlights. Okay, so definitely join us for that, because we will be live for that as well, coming up very soon. So what I will do is I will post that in the chat so that you all can go ahead and save your set your reminders so you don't miss that, because we're going to have the live watch for that, and we're also going to be spinning for Wildcat to get a $50 or $25 gift card, as well as presenting the new VIP member. So let's go ahead, and hopefully YouTube participates, because we don't have long. So we will be into that. Mary Beanie first in the chat. Good afternoon. I see Ergo, Blue Diva, DG Big Blue, Lesh 430, and Sean in there. You know what I'm saying? Like real big family members. So let's get into some of these updates, because like I said, updates are not upgrades until they yield positive results. But it seems to be a team, or at least 2 teams, that have been consistently making updates. And I'm talking about outside of Mercedes, outside Red Bull, adding to what's already a very superior platform. But it seems to be that McLaren have finally gotten their act together after a very lackluster livery launch. You know, it was very flat as far as their energy and what they seem to be able to achieve going into the season. Now things seem to be kind of turning around. This is the first real big blip that we've seen. So we need to see another action of evidence of this going forward to say that it is indeed a change that is substantiated by race pace and finishes. It is a big deal that McLaren populated the top 3 in qualifying. Of course, Max Verstappen grabbed pole, but to have Lando and Oscar Piastri, a rookie this season, in 2 and 3 is something to be marveled at. Now we need to see, can McLaren hold on to that position? Can they finish the British GP, which is home to one of their drivers, and Lando Norris, and their rookie is from Australia? But can they hold on to those podiums? Can McLaren come out of this with a double podium? That's a big question. The other big question is, who is behind them? Okay, so can Ferrari go ahead and move up the grid? Or will Mercedes show that maybe our qualifying wasn't the best in perspective of everything that we've been known to do, but can Mercedes work their way up and get a double podium or even a podium? Can they mix it up? We already know Perez has a big job cut out for him, right? Perez is going to have to work his way up. I believe he's going to have to work his way up from 15, okay? This is starting to be a normal occurrence from Perez, and I know a lot of us were kind of wondering, like, what's going on? But he's in the fastest platform in the RB19 on the grid, given there aren't any subtle changes being done behind the scenes. All right. Perez is going to have to make some decisions. Whatever the case is, Perez has to make decisions. Is he going to stay at Red Bull? Is he going to leave Red Bull? What is he going to do with the remainder of his career? Is he going to be a number 2? Is he going to be a number 2 without the benefits and the ability to compete as a number 1? Those are questions that Perez is going to have to answer. But let's get into these updates for these teams, because like I said, we don't have long. Almost within an hour's time, we're going to be in the British GP. So let's take a look at some of these teams and what they're doing. So first up, we got Alfa Romeo, okay? And what they've done is they've done a total of about 5 updates that are listed on the official documents. Maybe things will change. Also, Valtteri being DQ'd from the qualifying session, not being able to supply that fuel. So flow conditioning is everything for their primary reason of why they've done this. Okay, so floor body, redesigned floor nil winglets, mid-floor geometries. Also the floor fence, redesigned floor fence. The diffuser, redesigned diffuser expansion. Rear corner, redesigned rear brake ducts. Rear suspension, also redesigned rear suspension covers. Okay, so Alfa Romeo have done these updates, done these changes, all right, updates and changes, but they've been pretty like non-existent. Let's just be honest. They've been pretty non-existent. Alfa Romeo's been pretty non-existent. I had hoped that coming out of last season, given what happened to Zhou, very rough rookie season he had. I was hoping that after the livery launch, given everything that they said they were focusing on, which they said they were focusing on the rear of the car, which seems to be a very interesting area for teams to focus on given the beam wing structures and how they're going to try to duplicate or exceed Red Bull's configuration with them having a very successful platform. Alfa Romeo has not been that, okay? Zhou qualified. I think they've as a team, they've been out more than they've been in, all right? They've been out. Zhou was 17. Valtteri got DQ'd. This is not adding toward a very successful season. Alfa Romeo will be stripping their clothes from the Sauber chassis and going over to Haas. Hopefully they together can do something. Both Ferrari customer teams and the power unit, so we'll see what happens there. All right, but I'm not really looking for much to happen with Alfa Romeo going into this race. If something does happen, that's great, but I'm not anticipating it. I don't think it's going to be a big deal of something to like continuously happen or something to magically happen. I think sometimes we get caught up in like wanting to see magical moments instead of realistic outcomes. And that is very much the case sometimes with Mercedes. And magical outcomes don't necessarily become reality. So we just got to look at what's being done, look at the data, look at how they're performing, use your eye test, and those will give you more close outcomes than just kind of thinking about what was, and what was may still can be. It's not always the case. So let's go into our next team. Our next team, as far as updates is concerned, is Alphatauri, which has been also a team struggling, also a team that we know are having, I don't want to say internal problems, but they are looking like maybe Alphatauri separates from Red Bull. Maybe that happens. Like Toss is leaving. They're getting new management, a new leadership team, should I say, coming in next season as well. And they have a total of 8. And I would like to say that Alphatauri gets the award. They're going to get the award for updates galore. Alphatauri gets the award for updates galore, having the most updates at this GP. McLaren, I believe, at the last one, and before another time before that. So McLaren have been definitely updating. Also, keep in mind, we'll get to that later. So Alphatauri coming in with the floor. Most of everything that Alphatauri has done is for local load reasons, okay? And you do realize that at this point in time in this era, if you realize like the updates we went over, it's either flow conditioning or it's local load majority of the time, because these teams are still trying to get a bead on the aerodynamics and the ground effects and trying to find that sweet spot. So all performance reasons are local load for Alphatauri. Floor body, underfloor surfaces local to forward floor fences have changed, and the leading edge of the floor raised. Floor fence, their camber distribution have changed in sympathy with the changes of the floor body, roof surfaces. Floor edge wing, and extends inboard at its rearward extremity with a cutout in the floor edge to suit. Diffuser, vertical sidewalls have been modified. Coke engine cover, maximized width has been increased. Rear suspension, an extra winglet has been added behind the rear top wishbone. Rear wing, the new geometry loads up the central section more and outboard section less. Beam wing, which has been an area of focus. The flap element has been removed. Okay, so there you go for Alphatauri. Also, keep in mind that we had talked about Alphatauri and their whole situation with Nick DeVries. Nick DeVries, again, not having a very good qualifying FP 1, 2, 3 session. Nick DeVries needs to extremely improve next season. Matter of fact, he needs to improve this season. He needs to show some type of promise are some type of potential to Red Bull, because let's not be fooled. Let's not even play around. Red Bull is the team that decides pretty much all things Alphatauri Red Bull, all right? Whether they want that driver up from Alphatauri, whether they want to shift the driver down to Alphatauri, all of that stuff is decided by Red Bull. Red Bull have proven over time, unless you show them that you have great potential or good potential to bring wins or give them right now, because they are a right now type team, Nick DeVries right now is not giving them confidence that that driver that they selected was probably the best decision they made. He's going to need to improve this season to show them some type of turnaround, or he's going to find himself in a very controversial situation going into 2024. And we all know how controversial situations on drivers mentally can affect their outcome or their performance. And that's something that Nick DeVries doesn't need more of. I think he's already mentally in a situation that's not working out well for him, okay? So let's go ahead with our next team as far as updates are concerned. And that next team is Aston Martin, which has been one of the teams proven this season to take updates and make them into upgrades. Although it would seem Aston Martin has reached a moment in this season where they've kind of been not completely sliding back, but they've been caught by other teams that have made updates that have yielded upgrades, which Mercedes pushed them out of 2 in the Constructors' Championship standings at that time. So Aston Martin not doing extremely a lot. I think trying to fine-tune some things right now on their platform when they really believe, and I do believe they have a pretty good platform, and I think you all should believe they do as well, given what Alonso has been able to do with it, not so much what Stroll has done with it, hoping that he improves. There are some things that I witnessed in practice and qualifying, but I'll make another video for that because I think it's something interesting to go into with Aston Martin. But front wing balance range, new front wing flap has reduced cord incidents compared to the versions previously. Rear corner cooling range, new brake duct inlet and exit, increased disc and caliper cooling. All right, so that is pretty much what Aston Martin has done. They not a lot right there. Super chat, Will I Am, what's up, fam? On the road, checking in, Hamburg, Norris. That's what you're predicting, bro. Hamilton will get the Nigel Mansell 1-2 second boost from the Silverstone crowd. So you think he's going to get the half-second boost from the crowd? That's a lot of energy. That is a lot of energy to get a half-second boost from the crowd. But it's been widely talked about. It was talked about a lot this weekend, Sky Sports, Formula One TV, that this crowd at Silverstone literally has the energy to give a driver in a car a half a second. If Mercedes get a half a second, I think Lando was he 6/10? I think Lando was he 6/10 behind Max, or maybe like 2/10 or something like that. If Lewis Hamilton gets 5/10, no, if he gets half a second, that still doesn't technically put him above the Red Bull, but it definitely puts him on podium, I believe. With Lewis Hamilton's ability, his racecraft, his greatness, everything that he's proven while he's in Formula One, forget what you want to try to say about Lewis Hamilton. He said that he's here to stay, maybe even 5 more seasons. I am still trying to figure out why people want to say Lewis Hamilton needs to retire, yet nobody's campaigning for Alonso to retire when he has the longest career in Formula One and he's went the longest without doing anything with his career beside hopping teams. But I don't hear a plethora of people talking about Alonso needs to retire. So when you say Lewis Hamilton needs to retire, even without being a Lewis Hamilton fan, I need to ask you why. And then when you give me your reasons why, I need to not be able to apply those reasons realistically to other drivers on the grid. Other drivers without race wins, other drivers without championships, other drivers without holding majority of the records that have been broken by Lewis Hamilton. Other drivers that haven't went 5-10 years without being on podium or winning a race. I need to not be able to do that. If I can take those reasons that you give me and apply those realistically and accurately to other drivers, then you indeed are a fool and trying to spread propaganda on the fact Lewis Hamilton needs to retire. That tells me that you are pretty much maybe a Max fan and you are timid and afraid of Lewis Hamilton getting a very productive productive and performance and competitive car, and then you know what will happen then. It is likely that Max's run will be over. Lewis Hamilton will start winning races. He will then break the record of being an 8-time champion and probably even more. If you're saying these type of things that Lewis Hamilton needs to retire and you can't show me another driver that should retire before him with the reasons that you tell me, that's what it tells me. I'm just being honest. That's what it tells me. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it a buck. Just keeping it a buck. So let's go into the next team with updates, waiting to see if they will be upgrades. And that team is BWT Alpine. All right. Alpine, the pink and blue team. And I do like when they go with the pink livery more than the blue, but that blue, pink, and black mix, that's one of my favorite liveries. So I'm all in support of that. Only one update thing, front wing. Mercedes did a front wing. It looked like it was giving them some trouble. Performance reasons is local load, revised main plane, flap, and front wing end plate. That is it for BWT. Now, I will say this with BWT. Let's just put it out there. Gasly's acquisition has not really been that great. Okay, I told you all at the beginning of the season, and I told you last season when all of this was going on, this is going to be Gasly's opportunity to show, is his ceiling higher than maybe he's shown us? Is his ceiling higher than what we anticipated based off what he's shown us? Okay. I've said that Gasly's ceiling is in view, and I'm telling you it's there now. Okay. Gasly has not done what probably even Alpine would have thought that he should be able to do given a more competitive car, which we all said. And I think a lot of us thought, at least, let me not say all, I don't want to say 100%. I think a lot of us thought that the Alpine car was more competitive than the Alphatauri. I think we all pretty much kind of drew that conclusion, right? Being best of the rest for the Constructor Championships. Not so much this season. A lot of internal things going on. Rossi calling out his team. But I got to say, I think Rossi was right for doing what he did. Even if he wasn't right, it had a positive outcome because shortly after that, Alpine started improving. More so by way of Ocon, all right? Ocon improving. Gasly's been here and there. That's really what Gasly's been. He's been here or there. He's been kind of hit or miss. Now, of course, Gasly took out both Alpine cars. No punishment for that, which was kind of crazy. Should have definitely had that. Gasly qualifies 10. Okay. Ocon qualifies 13. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to be surprised if Ocon finishes ahead of Gasly in today's race. Just not going to be surprised. That's just pretty much what I'm going to see. And then Alpine needs to decide, well, I think Gasly will get a pass this season. I think that he can kind of look and say, you know, maybe the car wasn't completely there for me. First time back, first time in the team. I think he gets a pass. We see him again next season. But I do think next season, if he's not able to improve, I think Alpine will be trying to look elsewhere to acquire another driver, especially if the car is a bit more competitive and Ocon finds himself in the top 10 and in points more often than Gasly. I think Alpine, although don't seem to be a team to kick a driver to the side, I think after the whole situation with Oscar Piastri and McLaren and Fernando Alonso leaving, and then them kind of deciding if maybe they even need a junior team, I think Alpine have a bit more of a characteristic to say we're going to be able to cut our ties. I think they might have that after the experiences that they went through with losing a driver that is now on podium as a rookie. I think that gut punch Alpine. I think it was a good gut punch, and it was really their fault. Okay, you tried to retain Alonso with another one. You were going to outsource Oscar, and then you got a promising rookie there. You should have went ahead and cut ties with Alonso. Then is what you should have did. Okay, or even if you wanted to keep Alonso, you needed to find a way to get Oscar in your car. You contractually did not handle your business. Fernando jumped out of the window on you. And then Oscar decided that he was not going to succumb to your social media post, and he decided that he's out. And he won his decision. He went with McLaren, and it seems to be paying off. He's one of only 3 rookies right now that have scored points, and now one of only 3 rookies that have landed on the podium in Formula One their first season up right now. So I gotta say, Alpine probably is like regretting their decisions and lack of efforts to make sure that they had their business handled when it came to Oscar Piastri. I just think that is the case, but could be wrong. Could be wrong. All right, so next team up for updates Is McLaren a team right now we just finished talking about, segueing from Alpine to McLaren? Go figure. Making some changes here that definitely seem to be like they're going to result themselves as upgrades. Front wing, new front wing assembly. Everything they've done is for flow conditioning performance reasons, aside from one local load. So not everything. Majority of what they've done is flow conditioning, and they've done local load. Front wing, new front wing assembly. The nose, new nose assembly. The rear corner, revised rear brake duct geometry, of course, for cooling. Rear suspension, modified rear toe link shroud. Okay, and then when you do the shroud, essentially you're trying to improve aerodynamics and load back there to try to use those. Without the shrouds, you just see a bunch of tubing and bars. So the shroud does make it look good, but it also is for aerodynamic reasons, and that is what McLaren has done. So as I was saying, with the McLaren coming today, what are you hoping to see from McLaren? What are you hoping to see from McLaren? From McLaren, I'm looking to see. I'm not really hoping to see. I'm looking to see if McLaren can hold on to at least one of those podium spots, right? At least one. Now, it would be crazy if Oscar Piastri was that driver, but being that it's Lando's home race, along with Russell, along with Lewis Hamilton, it probably would benefit more, for marketing and publicity if Lando got that podium. But I'm not hoping that Lando gets it based off of these type of frivolous frills. I want to see if one of the drivers can take that McLaren and show that the progress that they've made is going to rival the top three. That's what I would like to see. Sling 68, would you still want to see Lewis continue on for more years if he finishes like Schumacher did, going 0 for 50 on race wins across several years? Okay, let's think about this. That's a good question. Let's think about this. Why would I not want to see him go on like that? He's 7-time world champion. Debatable if you look at certain situations. 8 or 9-time world champion could have been, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. If woulda, shoulda was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. So let's just stick to reality. He's a 7-time world champion. He's tied for the most championships in Formula One history with Schumacher. Even if he went on without a race win, is not making podium something? Is not making podium a driver in his career time and length in Formula One, is that not something? It would be something for anything else, right? It would be. So I do not believe, and although it is a belief, it does not make it a reality or factual. I do not believe Lewis Hamilton staying in the sport for 4 or 5 more years with Mercedes, showing factually that they can improve and develop through a course of a season, although a shitty W13 and W14, which the W14 seems to be making a turn, not the most to rival Red Bull. I do understand that. But I do not believe Lewis Hamilton, with all the skill and what he's shown and what he's proven in a competitive and a non-competitive car, let's say that, what he's shown in a non-competitive car, will go 4 or 5 more seasons without one race win. I don't. But even if he went without race win, I still think people are discounting the ability and the fact that other drivers have not even made it on the podium. So yes, I would like to see Lewis Hamilton and any other driver that can continue their career, and you could make podiums with throughout a season. Yeah, why not? Why not? Come on, like, he's got plenty. He's got the most race wins right now in Formula One history. Do you think it's going to hurt me to see Lewis Hamilton not get a race win more often than not, but land on podium? Nah, I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that. But good question. Good question. Wildcat says, imagine how nuts Silverstone would be if Lewis, Lando, and Russell took top 3. Wildcat, if they did that, that place would, I said last time, it would erupt. Imagine another asteroid hitting the Earth and it would obliterate Silverstone. They would literally have to be in construction for a new venue next season, because that place, Silverstone, would be off the face of this earth. They're going to have to revamp it. They're going to have to refresh it if that happens. Those people are going to go crazy, big crazy. All right. So let's get into our next team with updates. And that next team is Mercedes. All right. Mercedes, only 2 things really listed officially: front wing end plate, flow conditioning, side view profile change, and drive plane camber reduce. Front wing again, flow conditioning change, and core distribution of front wing element. So yeah, and damn right, Mary. Lewis is hungry for a win, and he does want it. You damn right about that. He does want it. Yeah, he wants it. And I can't believe that people would say or try to insinuate that Lewis Hamilton doesn't want a race win. Although I get it. I get it. I get it that drivers, competitors, athletes, at some point in time in their career, we've seen some athletes, some competitors kind of lose that hunger to win, right? They kind of just say, I've done a lot. I'm cool with being here, collecting a check. Lewis Hamilton hasn't struck me that way. And you got to remember, I told you all about Sebastian before he even announced it, what was going to happen. I told you all before races in weeks and days before that, I said Seb is probably going to retire. Why? Because I saw it in his body language. I heard it in the way he did his press conferences, in the way he responded to questions and or things that happened on track. That told me it's coming. I don't see those things in Lewis Hamilton yet. And we got to remember, sometimes people are attaching what Lewis went through by being shafted in AD21. Let's not play around. Let's not be coy. Let's not sit here and act like we don't know what really took place. It was a problem. It was a scandal. It was a situation. It was wrong what happened. And anything to that degree of a competitor being stripped from what they have earned, in no control of what happened, it's going to hit you mentally, emotionally, and it will affect you physically. And Lewis had to take some time to rebound from that. And even still in last season and going into this season, it's still progression of mentally getting around that to get back to himself. Don't mistake that for Lewis not wanting to be competitive, him not wanting to be hungry for wins, or him getting into a car and giving his team feedback to build a car. Don't mistake that for that. That's not that. When I do see signs that Lewis, if even resiliently shows that, because he might be the type of person where you can't really see it. Some people just want it. They're not even really seeing it. They just want Lewis to retire. But yeah, Lewis is going to be fine. And even outside of Formula One, he's proven that he's going to be damn sure okay. So yeah, I'm not even concerned about that. Next team up is Red Bull. They're just improving on a platform that is already very dominant. All right. Already very dominant. Having Adrian Newey on the grid, very found in respect and experience with ground effects, that puts them ahead of the rest. The regulations help with that, and now we'll get into that. But Red Bull have one thing: front corner cooling range, reduce intake, exit area, brake duct within the wheel body regulations. All right, so yeah, Red Bull have already started trying to. I'm not going to call it crying. They've already started trying to campaign regulations coming in 2026. Why? Let's just be fair and let's be honest with what we see and what we hear. They announced they're going to have their new power unit manufacturer be Ford. That ain't great, but they chose to do it. So hopefully they got something in the bag that we would totally be wild about. Honda will be going to Aston Martin. I don't know about you all, but I've said this several times. In the United States of America, Ford is not all of that. Outside of the Mustang, which they just regained their composure on with the 5.0 and their EcoBoost Turbo, which can be modified to give you a bit of amount of horsepower for the price difference. Their flagship in the F-150, Ford ain't all of that. Okay? Ford, Mercury, all that, Jeep, Ford is not all of that. Ford has many acronyms, I've told you, in the States that don't say positive things about Ford, and I've experienced and seen them, okay? Any fast Mustang on the track that consistently runs nice times, whether it be bracket in the 8th or it be a quarter mile in the drag, anytime I've been in the pits and I've went down there, especially when I competed in drag racing, I'm going to tell you, those Fords had Chevy motors in them. Who was trying to team up with Chevy GM? Andretti. Let the man in. If you're going to let Ford in, if you're going to let Audi in, let Andretti in. Let Andretti in with GM, because Chevy motors run at the track. Ford motors blow up at the track at some point in time, and that's just real talk. That's just real talk. So let's get into this, because we are about to be T-minus 30 minutes very soon to go into the GP. All right, so the next team with updates, hoping to be upgrades, is going to be Williams. And Williams have indeed kind of shown us that they are indeed making that turn and heading upward. They have slowed their descent. Albon has definitely taken charge and command of this team. So with their updates, the front wing, flow conditioning, and drag range is what they have. There is a small change in the central trailing edge of the rearmost element. The area of the wing element is reduced and the trailing edge is reprofiled. The rear wing drag range. The low drag rear wing has a higher leading edge to the main plane with a reduced span-wise camber profile. The angle of attack of the flap element is also reduced. All right. So there we go with that. Okay, let's go ahead and cover a bit of other things before we get into this, because we will be live here again for the race. Okay, so remember that when the race is over, we're gonna go in. I probably will go crazy if something happens. I'll probably talk crap, talk my F1 ish, as you know what I do. But let's go ahead and also cover some other interesting things. Matter of fact, let's cover some of these. Let's cover some of these photos. Let's cover some of these photos real quick. I've always said that I indeed like the Red Bull design. I like the Red Bull car. I think it's a very fine looking car. I think its ingenuity is very interesting. Okay, although I think James Allison said some very funny shit. Gambella 33, first super chat. Williams is back, and I'm telling you, they are working their way back. I'm really hoping that Williams gets back. They've made that slow, like they've slowed their descent, and now I think they're starting to kind of level out and try to make that climb, and I'm hoping to see it. I'm with you, Gambella. I'm with you. So here we go. Also changes with the BWT. This is before, all right, and in before, we're going to look at this right here. So in before, and then we're going to look right now. So as you can see, a few areas changed on the front wing, and these teams have really Mercedes front wing, BWT Alpine front wing, trying to get control of that area as soon as they can get in contact with it. So if you look at before, you got that big notch right there near the W, check that out. The main plane of the front wing, check that out. And then when you come across here, you can see those changes. Very increased area right there on that main plane. Look how much further that main plane extends back or comes up, and look at the broadness of that front curvature right there. Definitely changed. Look at that notch is really gone, or it's really reduced where the W is. You can see how notched that is and how it's gone away. Also more inner side of the front wing. Check out those joints. That also changed. Check out the profiling of the nose as well. There you go right there. So then let's look at Aston Martin before. Look at the cords, look at that rear flap, look at the curvature and that. And then as we come over here to the British GP, you could tell they took that curvature out. It's flattened out there, okay? And then you can look at that one cord, tell how they changed that and reprofiling for that. Those are subtle changes that can go a long way for a team. And then we'll also look at, they believe it's Alphatauri. No, this is McLaren. This is McLaren. Look at McLaren's. Now you can see how these joints join up to the nose. Look at this center section right here. And then as it comes over, boom, they change that. Look at you could tell how that, you almost got a flap, like creates a little bit more drag. If you look just right here to this arrow furthest to the left and then up above that, look at how that flap, I'll call it a flap the way it is. And then look how they smooth that out. All right. It's not so abrupt. It doesn't have an extreme angle of attack, as well as the way the wing joins in right there to the nose, changing that profile as well. Then also in this section, the front wing end plate also having some changes right there. Look at those gills. Look at how they changed those. The angle on that also flow conditioning, as we said. And look at the joints, changing the joints, the way those cords join up to that front wing end plate so much. And then also right here, Mercedes, okay? Look at Mercedes, look at that cord, that flap right there. And as they come over to the new wing, look at how they changed that flap. Look at how they changed that front wing end plate area right there where those gills are, call them shark gills. Also right here, the section connecting to the nose also changed up. All right. I'm telling you, Ford is horrible. I don't know why they would do it, but it's going to be challenging. And so Red Bull, like I said, so now let's go ahead and get into some FIA documents. Here is our final grid. Okay. You got Max Verstappen first, Lando second, Oscar third. Now I want to see if these two are going to put pressure. I want to know if Lando and Oscar are going to be able to put pressure on Max Verstappen. My guess is by 5 laps, Max Verstappen is ahead by at least a second, just about a second. Uno, blessings, twin and fam. Lewis will rise forever. That is true. Whether it be in Formula One or after Formula One, he has created himself a nice, substantial life outside of this. Now, let's also look at Charles in 4. Okay, Sainz in 5. Now, there's a lot to get through for Mercedes here in 6 and 7. okay? To get through Ferrari and then to get through McLaren. There's going to be a big mix up here. This is going to be a very interesting section right here because you have three teams very close in competitive cars. Max Verstappen, I think, is just going to run away with it. I know you see this time right here by Max Verstappen, and then you come over here to Lando and you see that. But we've often seen a lot of times that quali pace is not race pace, okay? 2/10 off, great. Now, can he race that 2/10 off and really make something happen? Can McLaren do something with strategy to retain? I'm not even looking at them to get a race win, more so hold on to those double podiums. But they are going to be under attack, okay? Jefferson says, remember how the FIA were so quick to reject the... Yeah! Yeah, when they made the... What was it? The wing gap separators. Yeah, they was quick to reject that early. And then Ferrari copied it last season because it's okay. And then they went back and changed the regulations before we came into this season, talk about the primary reason, right? Yeah, okay. Very good, Jefferson. Very good bring up. So, yeah, we're going to be looking at Alex. Now, I'm going to be looking to see if Alex can hold on to a top 10 position and grab some more points. Logan Sargent down here in 14, I think he doesn't do much but stay around this area or fall down to 17 or 18. Perez right here, we need to see if he can work his way up to at least, I think in the RB19, Perez, I'm not expecting to see anything less than a podium finish. We've seen Max come back, I believe, from 14. 17 didn't do so well right there, but 14, I think we saw him come back and do something pretty nice. But Perez, I don't expect anything less but a podium finish out of an RB19 car on the grid, given that he's issued the same support and strategy and performance that Max Verstappen is. I think we saw plenty of times where we could legitimately question if that was really the case between Max and Perez within the team. Now, Hulk right here, I don't think this lasts. I think Hulk's going to fall a little bit further. I think he's going to join K-Mag down here somewhere, maybe 17 through 19. 20th, I think, is going to be reserved. And if Valtteri doesn't have any issues and maybe he could do something, I think 20th is going to be reserved for Nick DeVries or likely maybe even Logan Sargent. But I don't think Yuki falls there unless he has a situation. I think Yuki kind of finishes above that. Ocon, I definitely expect him to climb the grid a bit more, even probably get past and beyond Gasly. Gasly probably falls victim. I think Stroll's going to come on up. He's in the AMR 23. I know we haven't had much hope or much confidence in him because of what he's not shown us, more so than what he's shown us. A Condu FIA fraudulent, incompetent ass. I like that. I like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Sainz, let's hope the Ferrari doesn't catch on fire. We know Charles Leclerc had electrical issues, kind of a fire situation where they had to grab extinguishers. Ferrari definitely, strategy's been shit. Performance and as far as reliability, not so great. Drivers have made mistakes. Can they put it all together to try to get a podium today? I'm very glad to see Charles get a podium in the last race. Can he do it again? Now, let's get to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. Home GPs for both drivers. Can they work together to get through Ferrari and McLaren and grab podium? I still would be in favor of seeing a double podium by either McLaren or Mercedes. Even if it happens with Ferrari, I think it's cool. Any one of these three teams grabbing a double podium would be cool to me. Albon's going to have a lot to work with to fight off Fernando right behind him. We know Fernando can not only make that car wide, but he can put pressure on a driver. We've only seen Lewis this season not yield to that pressure and stay on the beat and do what he needs to do. Alonso is good at putting pressure on you, and when he gets in front of you, he's good at making that car wide unless you're Max Verstappen. If you're Max Verstappen, Alonso becomes a doorman, opens it nice and wide, and lets Max right through. Lando, also the same. They got matching necklaces. They ain't nothing changed right there. 083, what's up, Wolfpack fam? What's up, 083? Do not 338. Don't 83. Don't forget we got a Wolfpack new VIP member that will be coming. All right, so everybody be here for that. Also, let's get into this right here, qualifying session. Valtteri doesn't do well, DQ'd, and this is why I said Alfa Romeo's not doing so good. I mean, Joe right here, 17. Valtteri right here at DQ, which would have been a 15, gets shifted out. That's not looking so good, but I do like to see consistently Williams, especially Albon, always usually popping in, if not top 5, top 10. Logan Sargent's going to have to do a bit more to get that up. What's up, Jesse James Bell? Hey, Jay and crew, I had to take a break from F1. Brother, I completely understand. Maria said the same thing. A lot of people say the same thing. It kind of getting to them. Don't forget, with less than 30 minutes, the GP will be happening. We will be back here live. The link is posted in the chat. He says, just still disgusted with the FIA, the cheating of Lewis 8th, facts, and the lack of investigation of super cheats Red Bull has. You know what? All of that is very valid. If anybody tells you that that's not valid, my brother Jesse James Bell, they're really just campaigning for propaganda and for the bullshit that we've seen happen. I mean, that's really what it is. Like, come on, y'all got to be fair. Like, honestly, FI been consistently inconsistent. Some calls that haven't shouldn't gone certain ways haven't, whether it be Red Bull, Alpine, we've seen questionable things. So big shout out to Jesse James Bell, big supporter of the channel and family member, and my Navy shipmate brother. Hoorah. So, yeah, so then let's go ahead. You know, this is going to happen. I think right now, especially with us seeing what happens with Perez, is like very disappointing. I've had friends, and this is just a coincidence that these friends also happen to be very proud Mexicans, and they are not happy with the way Perez is conducting himself as far as his character and yielding so much to the pressure of Red Bull. They are very proud people, such as other people. Very cultural, and I mean, Mexican boxers historically known to be very hard fighters. Perez is not fighting hard, and they are not happy with that. All right, so also we're going to go in here to this document. This is Valtteri qualifying session. 1 liter of sample fuel could not be provided. So right there, he gets disqualified from the qualifying session. Nick DeVries, again, just not doing well this season or not having a good season, unsafe release. And with that being said, the decision is fined 5,000 euros. All right. Also right here, deleted lap times, Lewis Hamilton. And what we got, turn 15 for Nick DeVries, turn 15 for Max Verstappen even. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I think people are being a bit... I don't want to say unrealistic. They're being a bit facetious when they say, oh, Max is just that great of a driver. He's not breaching track limits. No, I don't think that's it. I think what Max is he's getting the opportunity because he's so far out in front. You're not really paying attention to him. The race is not up there. The race is like 2 and back. 1 is gone. They're not really watching him like that. And most of these tracks don't have the sensors, so it's eyeballed. And if you're not really watching a driver who's so far in front by 20 seconds, like who's watching that? That's not a race. We're watching where the race is, 20 seconds behind this guy. So I don't think Max is not breaching track limits. I think a lot of his track limits, exceeding track limits, is not being recorded because he has the luxury of the RB19 and design of Adrian Newey to be so far out in front. It's not really being looked into. So I do think that more likely is what it is. So going on with this, Lando Norris turned 15. Carlos Sainz turned 15. Logan Sargent turned 15. Oscar Piastri turned 15. It's pretty much similar. Nico Hulkenberg turned 15. Alex Albon turned 15. Logan Sargent again turned 15. It would seem that turn 14 is like turn 10 in Austria, okay? Gambella says, does Nick really have 3 races to keep his seat? Woo. I'm going to say this. I wouldn't be surprised. Right? We saw what happened. Now, although he's with Alphatauri, still Red Bull. We saw what happened when Alex went up to Red Bull. It was in the season that he was. We saw what happened when Gasly was up at Red Bull. It was in the season it was. Wasn't even wasn't even after the season. It was inside of a season happening. That is something that is very possible, especially with Yuki improving and doing what he's doing. They don't want to see less from somebody who they thought and looked so highly. Nick DeVries, like I told you, was Helmut Marko's Dogecoin. He fooled us all. He said it. Nick DeVries is going to be the leader coming into this team. He's not. Nick DeVries has a substantial extending resume as far as before he got to Formula One, which he does, but it hasn't translated over. That was all fool's gold. What happened at Monza when he took place of Albon, which I'm glad he made it through that medical situation, where Nick DeVries took a Williams car and got into points. It seemed to be fool's gold. It has now turned green, and now it is here, and we are dealing with an abysmal season from Nick DeVries. But I still say he can improve. He has the opportunity to improve, and I hope he improves. I don't like to see anybody who has reached a level in which they've worked so hard for majority of their life get there and then fail to be able to retain it for at least some type of substantial amount of time. Nick DeVries, I would like to see improve, do better, come back, and be what we thought you could be, which is a very competitive driver. Pice, man, what's going on, man? Appreciate you much. First time super chat. Be here live. We will be back. Mercedes double podium. Cheers. If Mercedes make double podium, y'all gonna see me get drunk on a live because I got to drink champagne. So be here for that as well. So then next, and right here we got Logan Sargent. Again, turn 9, Lance Stroll, turn 15 for Lando. Lando is the snitch of all. Now, I want to know, is Lando Norris being right behind, starting with Max Verstappen? Is he going to report on Max Verstappen breaching track limits as he did with Lewis Hamilton to a fault? Like, bro, you don't need to be, that's not even your job, right? But then everybody started doing it. Like, don't do that. Like, but is he going to do it? You have to do it, Lando. You have to do it now or you're going to look oddly funny, and I'm going to call your ass out after the race. If Max Verstappen gets a warning, even a warning for track limits, and I don't hear not one peep from Lando over the radio, I'm blasting you on the race highlight video for today. I'm going to blast you, Lando. Promise you. All right, I'm blasting you for integrity and character being crap. I'm going to blast you. Don't do it. Don't do it now. I worked with the Hidden Genius Project when we was in Texas with McLaren. I worked with McLaren, talked to Zach, talked to you, talked to Danny, talked to Alex Pillow. I talked to you. I was there. Don't do it. You did a good thing in Texas. You did a good thing in Coda. You're doing good things now. If you show people your character being more Max-like than not, I'm going to blast you on it, bro. I'm going to keep it real with you, and I'm still going to keep it real with you if you ask me in my face when I see you. I like you. I like you as a driver. You're doing good. You're doing good things. Stay with it, but I need to see you keep the same energy with Max Verstappen as you did with Lewis Hamilton. Just being real. So then finally, let's get to this last document. Lando Norris. The mechanic on track, we saw that situation as it happened. We saw the people just kind of watch it happen and was like, yeah, if he does that. But anyway, mechanic on track due to, I think it was some type of exhaust part that they left attached to the car. Yeah, right there. Released the team with a fitting from the garage, still attached to the rear of the car while the car was still in the pits. He was told to go to the forward, but the mechanic came down and was in an unsafe area. So therefore, McLaren gets a fine for 1,000 euros. And guess what, people? It is now game time. It is time for us to say goodbye shortly, because what we will be doing is watching the British GP in less than 20 minutes. That will be happening. So I will see you all there, and we hope to have a very competitive race. I hope that we have a very competitive race. If we don't have a very competitive race, I'm going to be very disappointed in that. So let's hope that that does happen. Let's see what McLaren can do. Let's see what Mercedes can do. Let's see what these teams can do. Let's see what Perez can do. Let's hope Williams with Albon, or maybe even both Logan Sargent, can get into the top 10, because I said I would like to see if that team can consistently get both cars in the top 10. Jesse James Bell says Red Bull has something going on and FIA is doing the blind eye effect. Fan car banned. 2 brake system McLaren. Hey, Jesse James Bell has some historical facts for y'all. Okay, y'all think it's people in the chat that don't have historical facts. Mary Beanie has been watching Formula One for a long time, and she literally goes back and watches the races, watches free practice, watches qualifying, and takes hand notes. Do you not think that Wolfpack Performance and the family don't have people inside of our community that have fond and very close kernel knowledge of Formula One? You're fooling yourself. Don't do it. Okay, you'd be an idiot to do that. Okay, just don't do it. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Like, I know I get crazy, but don't mistake my crazy for ignorance. Like, yeah, I could be ignorant of some things, but I will inform and educate myself, and don't do that. By the way, we will be here Monday, tomorrow, for F1 Minute, the live talk show where it's more about you than it is about me, which means I want you to talk more. I want you to come on camera, give your perspectives, your opinions, your takes on Formula One and the race that just happened. So listen, we'll be back here live today for the race, live. Come join us. All right. And if Mercedes is on podium, I'm popping champagne. Moet everywhere. Hopefully not on this damn keyboard and this computer setup that I paid a lot of money for so that I can stream with y'all. Hopefully not there and messing up none. I got warranty, but I ain't trying to use it. You know, warranty could be hell. So anyway, Peace and love. See you for the race. Jesse James Bell been watching since 1958. 8 years after Formula One officially started, Jesse James Bell was watching Formula One. 8 years after Formula One officially started. So do you not think that he is well informed about Formula One? Stop playing with us. This shit real. Damn it. Jesse James Bell, big shout out to you, my brother. Big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to the Wolfpack fam. I love you. You make the community great. Everything you do, I truly appreciate it. I woke up at like 3 o'clock this morning and I thought about y'all and I said, you know what? I have a fucking great community and y'all are great. All right. So I will see you all soon. Peace and love. I'm out. Wolfpack.